Hello and welcome. In this video, I am going to discuss how you should be preparing to clear the prelim examination, which is coming next year, 2020. Most of you watching this video must have already started to prepare for the prelim examination, and my purpose here is to help you systematize your preparation. And as many of you might be knowing that we are starting a course for the prelim examination from 10th of October. This is the first batch, and maybe a few more batches we will be planning in the month of November and December. So in order to help you plan and carry out your prelim preparation better, we have started with this video series. And in this first video, we are going to talk about the very basics of prelim planning. So the first thing that we are going to address here is why at this point of time. I mean, many of you might be of the opinion that this is still too early, it is only end of September or early October, and perhaps the prelim preparation should start in the month of January or so. But the wiser among you might already be knowing that January will be too late. So if you are looking for the real prelim preparation which results into success, then this is the time to start prelim preparation. So why now? I have certain reasons for why now. As you can see on your side screen, the first and most important reason for why now is that the rejection rate in the prelim examination is really very high. If I put it this way, then the highest year on year the number of seat varies, but the highest number of people who get selected in terms of percentage is only 2 to 2.5%. So 98% of the IS dreams, they crash at the level of prelim. But this must not be your case. If you prepare timely and if you are diligent with your planning and execution of the planning, of course, then prelim will not be as tough examination as it is made out to be. So the first thing is that to overcome the very high rejection rate, you have to start preparing early. The second thing is that compared to someone who is in the second attempt or third attempt, you as a beginner, if you are a beginner, you need a little more time. It is pretty much logical. If anyone who has taken 2 attempts already is already retaining a large amount of information, and that person will have an advantage over you or any fresher who has only given 1 year to the preparation. So as a beginner, if you want to clear the prelim examination and ultimately the civil service or Indian Forest Service examination in the very first attempt, you must be willing to put in some intense work. So a beginner has got a greater challenge. Next thing is that a beginner also does not have much of a strategic orientation. So from day one, you need a strategic orientation as a beginner so that you know exactly what is to be done and you are not wasting your precious time and energy. So a strategic guidance is also something that you need from right now. And the next point of mine would be that the earlier you start, the more number of cycles of revision you can have. Because when you start early, you finish early. When you finish early, of course, you will have more number of revision cycles available to you. Last but not the least, if you are preparing well for the prelim examination, it is also laying down foundation for the main examination. So all these things which you start doing from right now will not only determine your chances of success in the prelim examination, but it will also be determining how well you do in the next year's main examination. So be under no doubt, the time to start is now. It is already getting late. If you delay it any further, it will actually be very, I would say, harmful or damaging to your prospects in the civil service examination. Moving next, statistically, let us see the challenges. So on your screen, on your side screen, what you get to see here, that a total of 6 lakh people fill up the form. Of course, not all the 6 lakh people go to face the examination, but still 6 lakh people fill up the form, and out of those 6 lakh people, only 10,000 odd people clear the prelim. In certain years, this number can be less, but it has never been more than 10 or 10,500. So 5,90,000 people who filled up the form, they are eliminated at the level of the prelim examination itself. These 10,000 people who write the main examination because they have cleared the prelim, about 2,800 people are called for the main for the interview. And out of the 2,700 or 2,800 people who face the interview, 900 people only finally get selected. So out of 6 lakh people, less than 1,000 people are ultimately recommended for the service. This is the intensity of competition you are up against, and this statistics I am sharing primarily to kind of wake you up so that this is the time to start preparing seriously. Now, if we move further, so the first thing is that how do we start our preparation? What is the syllabus like, etc. But the point is, do not look at the syllabus in isolation. Even before you start looking at the syllabus, first and foremost, you have to master the basics and awareness. The basics and awareness, you might have to do NCERT, certain NBT books, but if you have not already done it, like there might be some of you who have already done NCERT. All the toppers also recommend that you should be doing NCERT, but then some of us do it, some of us push it for a later point of time. If we push it for a later point of time, then in this month, like this is end of September when I'm recording this video, so at this point of time you need a teacher to summarize the NCERT for you, to teach you all the vital concepts of NCERT. But once you have done the NCERT textbooks and certain NBT textbook, then you are actually in a position to understand the scope of the syllabus as it is given by the UPSC. Before that, it will be a little too premature to look into the syllabus. So even before you look into the syllabus, your NCERT reading must be done. This is something which is vital. But then reading the syllabus in isolation is never going to be enough. Along with the syllabus, you have to take a look on the questions which have been asked by the UPSC, because it is the question which determines the scope of the syllabus. You then start knowing what is likely to be asked and what is kind of dead area in the syllabus. And that analysis is very, very vital, because when you look at the civil service examination syllabus, you will realize that it is so big, it is so exhaustive, that if you try to do each and every topic, each and every subtopic, it becomes almost an unmanageable task if you are trying to do everything in 1 year's time. My personal opinion, my personal experience says that even 2 years' time is not enough if you are trying to do every topic, every subtopic that's given in the syllabus. So rather than trying to be encyclopedic in your approach, you have to understand what are the vital areas, where are the questions coming from, and what kind of questions are being asked from a given topic. Because once you understand what kind of questions are being asked from a given topic, you will be able to actually see the study material or the textbook in altogether a new light. And you will start appreciating that, okay, this is where the question can come from, this is what I can ignore, and that will take away almost 30 to 50% of your preparation load. And then what you prepare is manageable within 1 year's time, plus it is also going to be much better because you are having less amount of task at hand. So analyzing the question is something which is very fundamental to your preparation, and this applies to prelim, main, as well as even for the essay and personality test. But more about, right now we are going to discuss more about the prelim examination. And last but not the least, you also have to do the emerging issues and analysis, because when we do the emerging issues and analysis, we really start appreciating that what are the likely questions, because the questions which have been asked in general studies are unlikely to be repeated. The past question only give you an indication what kind of question which can be asked to you. But when you are following the contemporary issues diligently, you can very well predict that this question may come in this year's examination. So these are the four things: the basics and awareness, then the syllabus as prescribed by the UPSC, then the questions which have been asked by the UPSC, and emerging issues and analysis. All of these have to be taken in totality in a holistic manner if you are willing to cover the syllabus and prepare for the examination effectively. And before moving any further and before talking about the approach, let's take a look on some of the recent cutoffs. So let's take the cutoff of 2017. Out of 200, 105.34 was the cutoff in 2017 examination. And I'm talking about general category students, and on your screen you can see the other cutoffs also. You can pretty well pause the video at this point and study the cutoff nicely if you are interested in seeing cutoff in different categories. But if you see, in 2016 it was pretty high at 116. In 2015 it was 107. So if you notice, it is coming to an average of 110. But in 2018 the questions were a little difficult. Those who have seen the 2018 question can very well appreciate the fact that the questions were a little difficult, and the cutoff went only 98, and that was the lowest cutoff in the recent past. And for the OBC candidates it was 96.6. We do not as yet know the cutoff of 2019 prelim, but most of the experts, including myself, are of the opinion that the cutoff should be about 100. It may be a little plus, it may be a little minus, it is a little too premature and also futile to speculate, but this is the best scenario guess. So this is the cutoff. So if you see, the cutoff hovers between 50 and 55%, and many of you might be thinking, what is there that we cannot achieve 50 to 55%? Of course, you can achieve not only 50 or 55%, you can achieve pretty well 60 or 65% also, but that needs preparation. Getting 50% in the prelim examination is not an easy task. So why 50% only is enough, and why even that score is challenging? There are several reasons for that. First thing is that the standard books are a must. You must be reading standard books. If you are not reading, no amount of notes, no amount of guide can make you clear the prelim examination. But at the same time, they take lot of time and they must be done minutely. So on one hand, they take a lot of time. The second, they must be done minutely. And this is exactly where a teacher's role comes in. If a teacher has actually analyzed the question paper, a teacher can pinpoint that in this standard source, let's imagine we are talking about Mr. Lakshmikant's Indian Polity. Now, Mr. Lakshmikant's Indian Polity is a book that is read by almost all the civil service aspirants. But do you know exactly what all chapters are responsible for most of the questions? Number one. Number two, in individual chapters which are very big, let's say the chapter on fundamental right, that's a very big chapter. The chapter on parliament, that's a very big chapter. So do you exactly know in which chapter what are the areas which are to be done? If you are not knowing, then perhaps you are reading it page by page, and if you are reading it page by page, you are wasting a lot of time, because you could have afforded not to read it page by page and still get all the questions. So this is one of the first reasons that most of the candidates are unable to finish reading the standard books. They start it with all the good intentions, but they are voluminous. Certain parts have to be done very minutely. They do not have the guidance how to do it, and in absence of that guidance, They start, but they are unable to finish. Many of them even stop trying after a point of time, just feeling plain demotivated. So that's what it is. Second reason why getting 50% score is a problem, because only 30% of the questions are direct in nature. Rest of the questions, if you are noticing, they check your understanding. And one of the best way to check your understanding is to ask a question that is derived from the facts, which is not directly based on fact. And to develop understanding, you have to do self-study, but someone if explains the concepts to you, then the understanding quality is much higher. So second thing is that most of us, we focus on simply facts, but we fail to develop adequate level of understanding on many topics. And when derived questions are asked on those topics, we are unable to do those questions correctly. Then the next reason is, and you have to analyze the prelim question carefully to understand this thing, that lot of questions are from non-standard sources. Like they are not from the textbooks, they are not from the well-reputed guides like Mr. Lakshmikant's Indian Polity. They are from newspaper, they are from debates or news bulletins of Rajya Sabha television, they are from magazines like Yojana, and then they are from the government documents like PIB or different reports of ministries, so on. So if you look at it, these sources again are very, very spread out, scattered, and you have to be really methodical, and preferably you should be working with a small team of your peers, fellow students, in order to cover all these resources. It is impossible to cover all these resources along with the standard sources within a span of 1 year. And mind it that it is not even 1 year left for the next year's prelim examination. If you look at the calendar, the 2020 prelim examination is exactly 8 months away. Keep aside the month of May, which is the examination month, for last moment revision, doubt removal and consolidation, then you are left with 7 working months. Ideally, you should be finishing your entire prelim preparation by 31st of March, and you should keep aside 2 months, April and May, only for deep revision. So in these 6 months time, are you going to do the standard sources? Are you going to do non-standard sources? And that too minutely, so that even if you are asked derived questions, you are able to do. This is going to be really very challenging. And next thing which again increases the level of challenge is framing of the questions. The questions framed by the UPSC are of such nature that options are very close to each other. Some of the questions are very long, so when you read it, it will take you a lot of time to even finish reading the question, and because of the length of the narration, you will be confused in understanding the core demand of the question. You may skip 1 or 2 words which may change the entire meaning of the question. So to say, this will increase the time that you need to solve the question. And most of the time what happens, that 1/4 of the options, like 1 out of 4 option, is so obscure, so fact based, that it is possible that you are unfamiliar with the fact. And when you are facing a multi-statement type of question, then you are really not knowing whether this statement is correct or wrong. And maybe in the confusion whether you should include this statement in the answer or not, you end up marking it wrong. So these are the challenges. And last but not the least, a lot of students read a lot, but they do not consolidate sufficiently. If you read but not consolidate in the examination, you will be unable to make use. So these are the problems, and keeping in mind these problems, we have designed our prelim course. We have been running the prelim course, and rather successfully so, for the last 7 years. This will be our 8th year of prelim course, and hopefully this year also from our course, our students are going to get a good number of questions. So how do we go about our prelim course? How do we try to solve these problems that I have just now outlined? And you think about it, these are not imaginary problems that I have created. These are the real problems. If you are seriously preparing for the examination, these are the real problems you have to address. So in this course, we have built 7 pillars of prelim preparation. And with each pillar, we are going to be of your support. The first pillar is guidance. You need to know what to do. We are not saying that all that you have to do is to study our notes. You will have to study our notes, but at the same time, you will have to study the standard resources also in a limited manner. So you need to know what to do, where from, and what exactly. Like if I tell you that you have to read a book, you should also be knowing which chapter and in some cases what exact page number you have to do. There are books where out of 10 pages there is only one table which is so vital for your understanding or for your question solving that you need to master it first. Do you have that ability to identify the important areas? If not, then you need guidance. You equally well need guidance what not to do. And then you need to be told how to do it, what exactly to look for, what exactly to extract from that source. Second, you need quality content. So our dedicated content team has created quality content from core books which we recommend you to read. We have extracted the vital facts and concepts from those sources. It has to be authentic. It means that it should be error-free, it should be updated, and it should at the same time not be too bulky, because if it is too bulky, once again, it will be harming your preparation. Next thing is practice. So you have to do the daily review. Daily review means whatever you did today, go check what are the questions which have already come from this topic and try to solve those questions. See how well you are doing with those questions. So this is something important and we are going to help you with the past question topic wise. Then you need to finish a segment, let's say modern Indian history, and then you need to go through a couple of segment tests to assess your overall grasp on the topic. And lastly, full syllabus topic. Why do you need to do? Because it is altogether a different level of challenge when after one history question you come across 2 polity question and then 1 economy question. So when the questions are thrown at you from different areas, they require a much higher level of preparedness, much higher level of retention in order to do them successfully. So all these 3 types of testing you will find in our course. Next is self-study. This thing I am again repeating that self-study is going to be vital for the prelim examination, and I am personally going to guide you on what to study, where to study from, what exactly to look for, and how to consolidate it. So self-study will be streamlined and guided, and it leads to 20% plus core augmentation. So this is something which is very vital and we are going to help you with that. Then revision. After the completion of the course with the mock test, we will ensure that you go through 5 cycles of quick revision and of course with practice. So there are 10 full syllabus tests, and with every 2 tests we will expect that you have completed 1 quick round of revision. When you have a streamlined material, you will be able to do that kind of revision. And when you have gone through 5 revisions, the real performance starts from there. The 6th pillar is we are going to restrict the sources. There are 30% pure factual questions and 60% questions which are based on understanding. So we are going to give you the necessary facts. We are going to augment the standard sources, plus the concept building in the class will take care of the conceptual question. And with this 90%, and this 90% you can cover from our class coverage, our suggested self-study and our supplement. But understand that still there are not going to be too many direct questions. The quality of understanding has to be very good, and that is where the revisions will be very, very handy to you. And the seventh pillar is current affairs. We are going to cover from May until April current affairs, that is one entire month, no, one entire year current affair for your prelim preparation. And our sources will be the Hindu newspaper, the Indian Express newspaper, PIB, Yojana, Kurukshetra, Ministry's report. When India 2020 yearbook comes, we will be covering that. When Economic Survey 2019-20 comes, we will be covering that. When the budget 2020-21 is presented, we will be covering that. So from all these sources, we will be augmenting your current affairs. So when you go through all of these things together, then you can be reasonably confident about clearing your prelim examination. And this is a journey you will have to undertake if you are serious about securing your 2020 examination. So I hope you understand the challenges, and I hope I have with clarity conveyed to you what is going to be our strategy for the prelim examination course. I invite you to come and explore this course, and you will certainly find it beneficial. The course is starting on 10th of October, and the second batch we will be announcing sometime in the middle of October, but you can expect the second batch to start in mid-November. So that's all in this video. Goodbye and good luck.